Good morning. It's Wednesday, November 20th, and today I want to talk to you about the wolf pup. Now, in many areas of the country, the wolf population has been denied entry into given states. And the reason they have been denied entry into those states is because wolves are carnivores, and they attack livestock. And so in states where you have large cattle ranches and sheep ranches and whatever else we raise, maybe goats and chickens and all of those critters are vulnerable if there's a wolf population. So in the state of Colorado, the wolves are going to be returned. Now, I never knew that there were no wolves in Colorado or that they had been removed in some way, shape, or form. But obviously, the return of wolves had the cattle industry very upset. And so they went to a judge and requested that the return of the wolves be temporarily delayed. And obviously, the cattle industry has good reason to want that delay to take place because their livestock can be and definitely would be attacked by the wolf population. And so in my mind, I think the cattle ranchers are asking for time to possibly prepare for the return of the wolf population. Get their guns loaded up or whatever way they would have to protect their cattle from the wolves. But the judge denied their request. And so moving forward, the cattle industry is going to have to deal with an influx of wolves. So the story is not all that awful. The lawsuit will continue. The judge's ruling allows Colorado to proceed with its plan to capture and transport 10 wolves from Oregon starting on Sunday. And the deadline to put these paws on the ground, so as they speak, under the voter-approved initiative is December 31st. So voters in Colorado approve the renewal of paws on the ground in the state. So obviously, the cattle ranchers in the state of Colorado are not that large a contingent that they could stop the public from voting to have the wolves returned. But the return of the wolves is a minuscule amount. It's only 10 right now, and the lawsuit is continuing, so there's hope that it may only be 10 wolves returned, or that maybe those 10 wolves, when they're returned, will have to be recaptured and removed. See, the lawsuit failed to adequately review the potential impacts of Colorado's plan to release up to 50 wolves over the next several years. So I guess the ranchers then put together a good enough case to stop the reintroduction of the wolves. I don't know what they could have said or done, or how they could prove how much damage the wolves would do to their cattle population. But they certainly all agreed that there would be inevitable wolf attacks on the livestock, and that could come at a significant cost to ranchers. And in Colorado, the ranchers are an industry that drives local economies. And if the wolves are released, that can affect the local economy, apparently significantly. The U.S. government said that all the environmental requirements had been met and that the future harms would not be irreparable. They pointed to state compensation plan that pays owners if their livestock are killed by wolves. And that compensation plan is very generous in my mind, but I'm not a cattle rancher and I don't know the economics associated with a cattle ranch. How much is a cattle worth? How much is a cattle cow or a calf or whatever it is, or a piece of that turns into a great steak, how much is that really worth? Because the compensation program that they have pointed to will pay up to $15,000 per animal provided by the state for lost animals. So if you had a wolf attack and they killed two of your cows or two of your bulls, you're going to get 30 grand. So that's one of the reasons that the judge, Regina Rodriguez, was willing to agree to this settlement. That seems pretty generous to me. So Rodriguez sided with the state and local and federal government. And this surprised me too, because Rodriguez mentioned further that the rancher's concerns did not outweigh the public interest in meeting the will of the people who voted for wolf reintroduction in a 2020 ballot initiative. So the people in Colorado want the wolves around. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. Wolves, I don't know. I guess they mind their own business and they do things and they don't really attack humans, so I guess it's okay to have them there. Now, the gray wolves were exterminated almost across most of the United States in the 1930s under a government-sponsored poisoning and trapping campaign. They received endangered species protections in 1975 when there were about 1,000 of them left in Minnesota. They removed those attacks on the wolves. The wolves rebounded in the Great Lakes region. So if you weren't killing them off, they were reproducing generously. So there's no need to worry about the wolf population now. They've returned to numerous states: Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Oregon, and Washington. And most recently, they've returned to California. Now, this earlier reintroduction effort that brought wolves from Canada to central Idaho and Yellowstone National Park in the 1990s has proved to be a great success for the wolves. I don't know how the ranchers feel about that in all of those regions, but I imagine everything is okay with the wolves. There don't seem to be many wolf attacks on humans or anything like that. So I think it's a good idea that we have an endangered species, not endangered so much by their own means, but endangered by the human, endangered because people view them as an enemy of the cattle ranchers, etc. So I think it's okay that reintroduce that wolf population for the so-called balance of nature. It will attack anything, larger animals like deer and smaller animals like the rodent population, rabbits and beavers and rats. They'll attack any of those things to get a good meal. So it's not that they do such great things in controlling the rodent population, but they're out there and there is a mix with them of environmental good as well as environmental bad in some cases. But in any event, it's good to have more wolves on the planet, I think. There's a balance to nature, and we shouldn't worry about it. We humans shouldn't interfere with the balance of nature. I'll leave you with that this morning. An interesting wolf story. Have a great day.